Hey everyone, this is going to be a video about movement Scoia'tel deck that I've been playing recently in ranked as well as casual, and it's basically revolving around witches in round 1 along with Bruvahug and Saskia for big tempo play, and then getting card advantage with Ciri in that round as well. Moving on to future rounds, you then have Blue Mountain Commandos with Zoltan Shive, with Dwarven Mercenaries, as well as Ryehead Brigades to clear weather, Trappers to disrupt, Swarm from monster players, as well as Lacerate, and then Thunderbolt Potions just for points. So we'll head into some gameplay and I'll show you how it operates. So here we are, guys. First game is against a Dagon player. Surprise, surprise. We'll see how this one goes. So, mulligan wise, we're against weather monsters, so we are going to want Ryehead Brigades. Those are probably good cards to keep. Ciri is always very strong, you know, to gather card advantage in round 1 and potentially round 2 if your opponent passes round 1. Witches you want to mulligan away usually because you're going to be pulling them out with Bruva for the big tempo play. So I think we'll start with that. You also want to obviously avoid getting 2 BMCs because you're pulling them out of the deck, so having one in hand would be pretty detrimental. And then marksmans can be kind of weak when not used in a long round alongside the BMCs, so I'm actually going to mulligan one of them here. Just get a bit of blacklist value, which is where you can't redraw a card that you've already mulliganed of the same type. Trappers are going to be great, probably. This hand is probably quite workable. We can do something with this. And I don't want to draw another BMC, so I'll end the mulligan there. Now, Barclay Elves is either going to be pulling Sheldon Skags, which is moving multiple units on a row, which is obviously synergy with Blue Mountain Commandos, and the Marksmans that we've seen here, which damage an enemy every time they're moved. Or he's pulling Mercenary, which is moving and buffing a unit on your side, or on the opponent's side. You can move it without buffing them. So the opponent here has played Harpy from hand, and I think, like most games, you're going to open with the Bruva. The Bruva into which is pretty strong. It's a 28-point play. It really puts your opponent on the spot, especially when they lose coin flip, because they're going to be hard pressed to maintain card advantage and keep up in points in round 1. So oftentimes you actually see them pass early here when they realise they might not be able to make up the points in one card. Seems like he's going to play though, and he just drops a Fog down for some immediate tempo and inevitability with the weather going forward into the round. So in response to that, we're just going to clear. We want to keep up on tempo on points, and we'll move an egg here. Don't really want to move the Harpy because then it makes when the eggs get popped, they can trigger other eggs, which would be a bad thing. That would be giving your opponent 3 points. So next play we can play Ciri or another Clear Skies, depending on whether he has more fog to throw at us or whether we want to just go for that card advantage, push him out of the round, and either of those things should be pretty good. There is actually a Frightener, which means our opponent is bowing out of this round essentially. He can't really ever hope to make up 38 points. Or even, yeah, it's 38, right? So we're just going to pass here, I think. I mean, Igni gets some of the way there. It's a 19-point play, along with the Dagon, which is 15. He could probably just about get there in a few cards, but ultimately, it's going to be very hard for him to do that. Even with a BTM, for example, for 18, he's going to have to go at least 2 cards down, which he will be reluctant to do. Playing the Ciri would just be sealing the deal in that respect, going a card down, which isn't necessarily good when the opponent has carryover. You can't maneuver effectively throughout in round 2 and 3 to gain card advantage, because obviously the carryover is preventing you from dry passing in round 2, which would normally force a card out of your opponent. We'll see what he does here. Seems like they are a little bit reluctant to play, and there's the pass. So very effective round 1. As you see, the witches are a huge amount of tempo alongside the 12 strength you get from the hero ability. And obviously you never want Saskia in your opening hand. That would be pretty terrible. Here this hand's pretty great actually. We have Zoltan Shive alongside the Blue Mountain Commandos and Thunderbolt Potions. 4 points as long as that weather clear. Still we will need that trappers are going to be able to disrupt the large amounts of units that the monster player will put on the rows. So I think we actually can keep this hand here. It's perfectly workable, and we still don't want to draw that second blue mountain commander. That'd be pretty bad. Here we're just going to drop Ciri. Doesn't matter that he has carryover, because this will return to our hand at the end of the round, meaning we gain card advantage. And now it is possible to play this round out should we want to, because we have tools to disrupt the carryover, such as Trapper and Ciaran, and I think it's probably wise to do that and just put some pressure on this monster player here. So we'll do that. We'll put the trap down in the middle, obviously, to prevent any Thunderbolt potions or immune boosts from hitting all 3 units that he might want to use. There's an Ekimara, and he's going to go and eat the trap, which is a little bit unfortunate. However, we can just do the same again should we want to, and that is a very real question, should we want to. Also, Ciaran on the Ekimara might be wise, deny the 4 strength carryover. We can even move it to the middle row here, and I think that's what we're going to do. Essentially here we just want to deny as much carryover as possible without using our win condition, which is going to be Blue Mounted Commandos alongside Zoltan. And he has buffed those up, so I think we just have to pass here pretty much. This wasn't a terrible result. Effectively, we I mean, he got this carryover. He would have had that anyway had we not played Trapper and Ciaran. Traded a couple of cards. We have card advantage now. Everything should be good. Now we want to mulligan Ciri, obviously, because it is quite a bad card, and we can take the risk. We might end up drawing a second Blue Mountain Commander, which would be unfortunate, but we don't. We get Lacerate. That's pretty good. That will help against the row stacking that these monster players tend to do. He's playing his Crones now. We really want the Blue Mountain Commanders to stick, and we have to essentially hope he does not have a way to remove them here, or that he saves it. And the ways he could remove them are most likely Lacerate or a Water Hag from hand, and he probably will use one of those here, just to deny the value from this. Turns out he does not, which is really good for this deck. When the Blue Mountain Commanders survive, you tend to have an much easier job in this round. So I think we'll actually play Barclay Els here. He is either pulling a Mercenary, which will be perfectly strong to move the Blue Mountain Commandos around and get extra points on them, or we'll pull Sheldon, which is going to buff them all up out of range of Lacerate. So either way, it's pretty good. We don't necessarily want to be playing Zoltan yet, because all of the elves would be in range of Igni, or some card like that. They'd all be at 7 strength, which can be a bit awkward. Things like Scorch and BTM are also cards which we have to watch out for. But right now things are looking pretty good, because we have plenty of value with the Vrihad Brigade, and the Merc's going to be playing for 11 each time, along with Thunderbolt potions. And here comes a Fog. So we'll be able to clear that and move the Blue Mountain Commando back to this row, should we want to. Alternatively, we could just play Zoltan now, and I think that's actually the better play. Just making sure these stay out of Lacerate range. It will make it very difficult for him to kill the Blue Mountain Commandos, which essentially are our win condition here, because they represent a huge amount of points in conjunction with the other movement units. We'll see what he does. Unfortunately, this does mean we might not be able to remove these Foglets ever, but that is the way of things, unfortunately. So he does indeed play Woodland Spirit. We have multiple lines of play that would be viable here. We could either Trapper this row, take some hits off of them. We could play the Vrihad Brigade to clear, stop the weather damage from happening. We could Lacerate to achieve the same thing as the Trapper play. We could also Mercenary to gain some extra value on the Brigade being able to move a commando for the second time. Depends how greedy we would like to be here, and how much we want to play into BTM and Scorch and cards like that. Essentially, this play here plays around those cards. So I think we're just going to play a Merc on this BMC. It goes to 10, but this one gets hit by Fog. It is potentially vulnerable to Scorch here, but quite often these Dagon decks do not run that. And it turns out we are safe. So we will now clear the weather, stop the BMCs getting hit on, essentially, and be able to move this one back, gain an extra 2 from the Vrihad Brigade, which essentially counteracts the weather tick. so not too big of a deal. But yeah, things are looking okay at the moment, not too bad. As a bear comes out, we need to start probably playing trappers now, just to disrupt any possible, for example, commander's horn that he might have. Alternatively, we could buff, but that does play into a card like BMC maybe a bit too much. I think what we'll do here is just play a trapper. Hopefully remove these units on the front. Scoia'tel's going to fall back down, fall asleep, which is really quite good. He does buff 2 units up at the same time. So we have double Thunderbolt, which is representing a lot of points, if we can get them to go off without being interrupted by a card like, BTM, which he might indeed have, and is going to be able to get off in conjunction with this 1 strength unit here. Now, we probably can take the Lacerate value on the back row at this point. He will only likely have 1 more back row unit, being the Water Hag, but 12 is perfectly reasonable value to take from Lacerate, and we're ahead in points now, being up even 1 card. There is a Thunderbolt potion, which is actually very good for us because it puts us out of range of a BTM possible play. Now I believe we'll just use Mercenary to play around the BTM further. We're not going to put it in back row because that would play a bit too hard into, well, it would get damaged by Spear Tip again, obviously. So we probably want to actually play it front row potentially, to play around the Lacerate that he most likely has in hand now. Although he didn't use it earlier, so maybe it's fine to stack this row here. I think it's perfectly safe. We've got double Thunderbolts, that represents 24 points. Hopefully he can't beat that. Water Hag might do a good job of getting there. Igni is not going to be enough, I don't think. So we managed to navigate this round quite effectively. We played around the Igni, being careful not to stack 2 units of high strength on the same row, same strength obviously, and we end up taking it with the big tempo plays of Thunderbolt Potion and BMCs alongside Zoltan and other moving abilities. So yeah, that's we'll take that victory. We'll take it. Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. So if you if you want to try the deck, give it a go. It's not exactly the best deck you could play, but it's definitely fun, and it has a decent matchup against monsters. You can force them out early in round 1 a lot of the time with the Witchers, and then Trappers obviously, Brigades and Lacerate are all great cards as well. It can be a bit RNG dependent, but you know, as this game hopefully showed, it can be a good deck, and it's definitely fun to play. So yeah, anyway, see you next time, guys, and thank you very much for watching. Have a good one.